Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. How are we doing this morning? We've got episode number 13 coming at you. Breakfast with Ben and Cheryl. How are we doing this morning? Cheryl, how are you doing?
I am good.
All right, we didn't have a minor technical meltdown here last minute, so I think...
No, but we did realize that last week's episode didn't record all the way, so you guys have no idea what to do for
Goal setting,
one.
So last week we tried to hardwire and got
Yes.
everything set, and we were good to go, and apparently we were not good to go. We definitely had some network issues, so we are going to be re-recording part 1 of goal setting and getting that uploaded for you guys. Good morning, Jody Brown.
Good
Great to
morning.
see you. Always a pleasure. So that's going to be coming back to you guys, but are we right into part 2?
We should go right into part 2. We'll put part 1 in today. We'll get that. I mean, we're going to record it today, and then we have to edit it. So by at least tomorrow, it'll be uploaded.
Quick recap. Last week we were talking about part 1 of goal setting. Our homework was doing a brain dump. Getting just everything that is in your head out on a piece of paper. Spending 10 minutes in a quiet zone, just knocking it out.
Yes, everything that you think.
But we're going to roll into episode
Part 2.
Part 2, and we're going to go
Yes.
ahead with our...
Yes, our opening quote. These are for values and priorities, and our opening quote today is, when your values are clear, making decisions becomes easier. And it's so true. Holy moly.
It's very true. Once we kind of defined what we did, and we weren't a jack of all trades, it was just the light switch turned on.
Yes.
And it was that much easier.
And we determined our values, and it has helped us quickly solve issues that we've come across, obstacles that we've had to overcome. When you have your values written out, clear picture, both, the whole company sees it, it is very much more easy.
Very much more easy. But no, absolutely.
To make that decision.
When you have those priorities and those values
Yes.
already set and they're in here and you've recited them to yourself and you've gone over them and you're not thinking of them for the first time, it's that much easier to tell someone no, or maybe I'm not a good fit for that, or I would love to take that on.
Yes.
That is what I've been waiting for.
Yes. So, part 2, we go into part 2 and with your brain dump. So you're just going to have a paper of just tons of stuff written on it. Like all sorts of stuff.
I mean...
Damn, they're going to read that.
Oh. Don't read it.
Anyway, you have your whole list. Everything that you think of. Sandbags, issues, friends issues, things that you want to accomplish, dreams you have.
Emails you have to reply to. Everything. It's just...
Struggles daily. All that kind of stuff. And we did the brain dump, and it was really great because we organized it. And I know you guys have heard me talk about the jar, separating them. And we're going to talk about how to separate those here in a minute. And then we're also going to talk about finding your core values and finding those core values that you can hold on to and have as your rock that's guiding you through difficult decisions that you have to make in life. And in business.
So remember, they're kind of in the dark. So give us a quick recap, because you've used the term sandbags. We've got rocks and pebbles, and so you've got our list. So we took 10 minutes going through my mind, down on paper, where to go.
I don't have my list.
Okay, that's okay. So how do I break them apart in terms of what does this list mean now?
So when I like to prioritize things, I know a lot of people have heard the jar. We've referenced the jar, where you have you have your sand, your pebbles, and your rocks, and you have one size jar. That's all you have. And your jar is like the time. Everyone has the same size jar, same amount of time, and everything. And it all depends on what you focus on most. So if you focus on thoughts and helping, chatting and talking with friends and watching TV and dealing with world issues, things that are kind of outside of your
Immediate sphere.
what do you call it? You can't control it. Out of your control.
Yeah.
There you go. It's things that are out of your control and little tasks that you have to do and accomplish through the day. Just like, oh, I have to take out the dog. Oh, I have to feed the dog. I have to make lunch.
The little
like,
daily stuff that...
Sand.
Okay. The stuff that is just every day. The little stuff that either it affects you, you're letting it affect you in some way from that social media post you saw that really got your blood boiling, or like, I gotta go take the dog out before I go to the gym. And okay.
Yes. And then you have your pebbles, which are like small goals that you want to accomplish, like DIY projects around the house.
I want to lose 15 pounds.
Yeah, that's.
I want to lose weight.
Yeah, that's. I was more like, I need to fix that door. Like,
okay.
Not the personal side of things are more the rocks. You know that.
The bigger things.
The bigger goals that you need to accomplish that are going to take time to accomplish, and you have tasks.
Gotcha.
Pebbles are more of the things that you can accomplish in a day. You just need to set the time aside for them.
Oh, like when you're always bugging me to clean the garage.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
Okay, got it.
So, and then the rocks are your bigger things, like I want to, but you have to make them specific. It isn't I just want to lose weight or I want to be more healthy, and that was one of mine. You have to make them very, very specific. I want to fit into a size 8 dress, made by so-and-so by X date, that kind of thing. So you take that list and you separate it out into those different columns.
Okay.
And once you separate all that stuff out into all your brain into these different categories, you can start focusing on what is in my control and what is outside of my control. You can kind of scratch off the stuff that's outside of your control. If you have no control, zero control over it, there is no point in it being in your jar. You take your time and you're empathetic to other people, that kind of things. But it doesn't need to take so much time in the jar. It doesn't go in first.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where was I? I was saying you're separating out everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, separating, controlling what you can't, and then you got to prioritize what you're wanting to control. So the things that you can control, you want to start prioritizing them. So you start putting those bigger rocks in your jar. Like those are the things that you need to focus on most.
Okay.
And then you have your pebbles, the little daily tasks and things that you need to get done and things that you want to get done, and then you start filling that in. And then the sand, it fills in where it needs to fill in. Like when you have a few minutes or, I have a free afternoon, let me go focus on my sand stuff,
Taking that time when it's in between.
Filling in the gaps with the sand. Not focusing solely on the sand. You need to focus on the rocks and the pebbles and fill in the sand where you can fill it in. Because they're lower priority.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's. I mean,
I'm a very visual person.
Yeah, and it's true. But I mean, it's when you focus on those bigger or on that sand, it's just the day to day, and like you don't. Where is this going?
Right.
Like you're just walking along the beach.
Right.
You don't really have an end goal.
Yeah. And if you put that sand in your jar and that's all you're focusing on is the sand, and then you go and put the pebbles in there, there's going to be no room for the rocks because your time's over full.
Yeah.
You
can.
You go and try and take that sand and put it in there first, not going to work. Won't all fit.
It's true.
Yep. And then the next part is finding core values, and we went through this early this year.
Yeah.
Finding our core, sorting out our core values, and that was pretty cool. Like, that was
an enlightening experience.
Yes, and it was a project. I mean, we spent several hours on it, talking about it, organizing, because we did them separately first, and how
as you should. And
yes.
Quick side note there in our situation, we did 3 rounds of this.
Yes.
We both did ours personally, 1, 2, and then we had to do one for the business.
Right.
And making sure, because one, I have to make sure that my role within the company is like I need to be, my values fit with where I need to be. But then, in the same regard, our business has to be able to have those values to relate to other people.
Yes. And how we started finding values that mattered to us most is we listed out 3 people that we looked up to and that we find as inspirational, motivational, a powerhouse.
And that could be, that could be somebody locally that you hang out with and
Right.
you know and they mentor you. That could
Yes.
be Tony Robbins,
Yes.
Michael Jordan. Like, what are those people? And not so, oh, they got a really cool house. They got really, nice. Oh, their wife's so hot.
Is that what guys talk about?
I think so. Is that an appropriate guy thing?
Locker room talk.
I gotta find a locker room first. But what about them is so inspiring?
Yes. What
I mean,
values do they just embrace?
The way that Tony Robbins can captivate an entire audience and bring them to tears by just speaking real to them.
Yeah.
What are those values? And you're not just like, okay, I got to pick 3 and that's it. You pick 3 people.
Yes.
But you're gonna have a list of like 15 or 20 things.
Yes.
And that's a little
good.
it's
good.
And it's a little overwhelming though.
It is.
Because you're like, well, how the heck am I gonna put this all into a mission statement, mantra
Right.
thing that I have to repeat?
Yep.
So you got to go through a couple of elimination rounds.
Yes.
And it's going through that list and figuring out, okay, well, these 2 are really similar. The happiness and joy. Those are obviously very similar. So, okay, that's a big thing. Obviously, I listed it twice.
Right.
So, but going through that list and kind of narrowing it down.
Yes.
And you got to get it down to 3.
Yep. And then prioritize what means the most, what speaks to you the most, and they're going to be different for everyone. So don't be shy about what your values are, what you value most. I value a lot of happiness, balance, and just zen routine type stuff, where Ben is more focused on security,
the helping.
Yes.
And then happiness for me is number 3.
Right.
In my core values, because it's just, that's not my top priority.
Right.
It's security and making sure those around me are secure. So doing that, guys, I'm telling you, it's tough. It is tough, and it's going to be, because you got to sit down and be like, well, this is hard. I'm going back to Gilmore Girls. But you got to go through these values. But once you cross that bridge and you've got those 3 down, then every decision is just that much easier.
Oh, it feels so good because you're making the right decision for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's life-changing. I love it.
All right. Give them a recap real quick here.
Okay, so once we re-record last week's first step of goal setting, the brain dump, and it'll just be a quick recap of that one. We won't go through a whole thing, so you guys can just recap with that. You're going to take that list and prioritize it into the sand, the pebbles, and the rocks. And then you're going to work on finding your core values.
Yep.
And having your rocks listed out so you know what's biggest priorities that you should take in your life. And then you're going to set those 3 values, and then you're going to see how those work out. And then we're going to work on how we can properly figure out which goals that you can, which goals are most important to work on first, and then how to break down actually planning the goal and putting it down on paper.
That's for next week.
Yes.
I don't want you guys to feel like, well, what the heck? Now I got all these rocks, and now what am I doing with these rocks? So next week we'll be going down. All right, we're gonna have our rocks, but how do I need to break those down into pebbles and sand within themselves?
Yes. That's right. You're gonna crush those rocks. Crushing
it. So to kind of close out the show, we're changing up the format a little bit.
Yes.
So we wanted to get right into the topic because we know you guys are busy people and you got to get out there and you're moving and shaking. So we're trying to hit the topic right off the bat. And if you want to stay around and hang out with us, we'd love that because we'll not get too silly, but we're going to just kind of talk about our wins and losses and our struggles, get some resources and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, our chit chat's gonna be at the end.
Yeah.
Like the after topic.
So for this week, into our wins and losses, I feel like we need like a cool animation to just be like, ding, wins and losses. That it doesn't work like that. That's not okay.
I love you, Megberg. I just shout out.
So my win for this week is creating our plan for 2017 in terms of really trying to get a hard schedule down.
Yes.
On the things, the sand, the pebbles, the things, those things that are holding me back, to kind of take away.
Yes.
And both having a personal and a business plan.
Yes.
That was kind of an epiphany in a sense, because I'm always, all right, we just got to work on the business.
Yes.
I can just sleep and then go back to the work, but now I got to kind of take care of some stuff. So that was exciting for me this week.
That was also exciting for me this week. I can't, I don't want to copy, but I mean, that was like the highlight of my week was planning for that meeting yesterday, and like, because we had a really big half-day planning meeting, and then our power went out, so that was a big struggle. And then we kept planning, so it was like, woohoo! I had a fun day.
Struggles this week was personally was again seeing that big picture, and I've told that to you guys a lot. Those rocks.
Yeah.
It's really tough for me to see that rock and to see where I want to be, and that's something I'm still kind of working on. So,
what's helped you with that this week?
By breaking it down, Cheryl and I kind of like visualize that stuff, and she was very like, be specific. Like, okay, I'd like to live in a nicer house one day. Well, what does that look like? I don't know. 4 walls and a roof. And so it's, no, what does that look like? Where is that? And that's the kind of stuff where it's like, okay, it's really pulling from within side. Where do I want to be?
You created a great picture. It was cool.
And then the focusing on the priorities and the values. Prepping for the show this week.
Yeah.
I think that was a kind of, it's almost been a year since we've done that ourselves in terms of setting up our values.
Yes.
And so to go back and revisit that was really nice, and I'm glad that we had that opportunity.
Yes. And struggles for me has been focusing on good stuff. Like, I have so many good things that happen, and then we have one, I'll have one thing that sets me back, and that will just consume me. And it just drives me bananas. And it's the whole logic emotional disconnect. Like, why doesn't my logical side of my brain like talk nicely and connect with my emotion side of myself? And it just they never seem to align. And it just gets really frustrating sometimes, and you really have to, I hate that word, fake it till you make it. I like what one of our friends say, act enthusiastic and you'll be enthusiastic.
That's right. That's true.
That's what I try to. And then I've learned that whatever you're feeling or whatever you're thinking controls your feelings.
Yes.
So I'm really trying to, and whatever you're feeling controls your actions. Yeah. So I'm really trying to focus on the foundation side and change how I think about things and what I'm thinking about to make me feel better so my actions can be more productive.
So I think we've told this before. A good friend of ours has told that story, that your feelings control your actions, and what you're feeling. That's, have you ever had that friend that's, they always get bad service at the restaurant, or their room is never right at the hotel, or, but that's the perception. Like, they're walking into that restaurant with, it's already going to be messed up. It's going to be undercooked. It's not what I want. But if you can go in with that, and it's almost like a cancerous thought, like to go in with that mindset of like, well, I'm going to go into this restaurant and have a bad meal. Like, what? Then why go into that restaurant? Like, it would blow my mind. I used to work at the service center, and people, your service is terrible. I'll see you next week. Why? And that's a culmination of not finding those core values.
Yes.
And that connection shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? So
and it leaves their life unhappy. And like they're doing it to themselves. They choose to do that to themselves. And that just blows my mind. But one of my core values is happiness. So that's me. I will do what it takes to keep my balance and happy.
Cheryl found, we're going to be moving on to our resources section here. We're going to try to share something with you guys that we found this week, whether that's a book, a podcast, a blog, or even a software app,
a TED Talk, anything.
Something we found that really kind of hit us, and we want to share. It's all about sharing those resources. So Cheryl found a really cool podcast this week, and it's kind of been added into our daily playlist. And we'll go ahead and introduce it. It's a Life Coach School by Brooke Castillo.
Yes.
It's great.
It really is. Her voice, she is a life coach. Life coaching is becoming more and more
prevalent. It's more of it's because people are, it's not like big corporate retreats anymore because everybody's just kind of doing their, look at the people in the comment section.
Yes.
They're all doing their own thing.
Yes.
And so to have somebody else to talk to is a really valuable thing.
It really is. And when you don't have a mentor or somebody to guide you, school doesn't teach you that stuff. It doesn't teach you how to deal with life. And that's a shame. I really think that, how to deal with thoughts and how to deal with anxieties and that kind of stuff should be worked into the curriculum in schools.
So what did you?
Because it's so important. But yes, I found this podcast looking for goals because I went on my goal research thing, and I like to see what other people say, other people's formulas. It's very much like recipes. I don't use any one particular recipe when I cook. I go and I look at half a dozen different recipes and piece them together and make it my own. And that's what I've been doing with the goals. And so I found her goals episode, which was episode 3 of hers.
Which she's on like 145 or something. So it was real OG.
Like in 2014. And being that it was her 3rd episode, when podcasts are in their early stages, some of them can be really hit or miss. On point. Loved it. Went back, started over, listened to 1, and now I'm up to episode 6, I think now. So
and they're real short. She's 30 minutes.
Yes.
So that's real manageable, guys.
Great voice.
She's very tranquil.
She's so nice. Nice voice.
But that's where you also really, she reinstilled that your actions.
Yes.
Your feelings control your actions,
yes.
And that's really true. So. The Life Coach School by Brooke Castillo.
Yes.
It's a podcast. It's on, go to your favorite podcast app. It's in there. Search it up. I found it on Overcast, the one I used on my iPhone.
We use Overcast app on our Apple iPhones. Great.
But
Love that.
It works great. So next week, we're going to be putting our goals on paper. So that is super important because if you're not writing them down, then there's no way you're holding yourself accountable.
And putting them in a phone doesn't count.
No, I'm sorry. This is not as.
No.
This doesn't mean business.
No.
It could.
It does mean business, but.
All right, guys. So next week, putting your goals on paper. Cheryl, will you give them that quote one more time for us?
Yeah, when your values are clear to you, making decisions becomes easier.
That's right.
Yes.
You guys got your. Hopefully, you pulled some information from this. Doing that list. Breaking it down, it really does help.
It does.
Thank you, Jody Brown. Thank you guys all so much for coming back.
Michael.
We'll see you guys next week. It's always a pleasure having you guys hang out with us. And make sure to stay tuned, and we will be getting that video out for part 1. Sorry again about those difficulties, but hey, stuff happens, so we just got to roll with the punches and see what we can do. You guys have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Tuesday morning at 8 a.m.